Chicken, just the right time.
Go the other way. Look what I got, Derek. I got a loud horse
So you like the postal service, right? Like, you know, and then you also don't like Mr. Harper, so we can sell it to you. You know? Blue sky.
First up, to give a warm welcome from the Tsleil-Waututh Nation, please welcome Elder Margaret George. Margaret! Woo!
Wow, I feel like a star here. Welcome everybody, good morning. Welcome to the territory of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh. And to start off today, I'm going to say a very short prayer for each and every one of you. Oh, Great Spirit, thank you for bringing us together today. Bring us happiness. Bring us courage in the work that we do. Let us always remember it's the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren we work for. And just have a great day, all my relations.
Langsinger, Secretary-Treasurer of the BC Federation of Labor, to bring some warm greetings. Hello.
Thank you, Fred, and workers of BC, happy Labor Day. Today's a day to celebrate the work we do. We actually are the true engine of the economy. And it's a day to celebrate our solidarity, our collective action, our determination to build a better world. 100 years ago, last week, there was a strike in Dublin of the transport workers. And the employer responded to that strike by locking out every unionized worker in the city. Don't tell that story to Christy Clark and the Liberals, because she'll probably try it. But we have to remember our history, and we're seeing some similar lockouts now in British Columbia. We're seeing a nasty employer tactic of lockouts at IKEA, for example. A Swedish company that is now using British Columbia as their low-wage workforce. We see a terrible lockout at the new Weston District at the North Shore Winter Club, CUPE 389. It's been going on for 120 days. So if you have a chance, please go and visit that picket line and support the CUPE workers on that line. They are tremendous, they are strong, they are courageous, but they're still locked out by an employer determined to break the union. Fortis in the Okanagan and the Kootenays have locked out IBEW. 9 weeks now. They're asking for a cost of living increase, and last year Fortis paid their CEO $1.4 million.
Shame.
$1.4 million, and they won't pay their workers a cost of living increase. We had a great rally up there on Thursday last week, and there's lots of support for them, but they need our help too. We have a lot of challenges. We see poverty, homelessness, an increasing gap between rich and poor. We see corporate bailouts and the highest CEO salaries ever. But somehow, ordinary working people don't deserve good wages, benefits, and pensions. It's what some have called socialism for the rich and capitalism for the rest of us. And we need to turn that around. But last week was also the anniversary of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. And Van Jones, the political activist and environmentalist in the United States, said Martin Luther King didn't become famous by saying, I have a complaint. He became famous by saying, I have a dream. And we need to share in that dream and vision, and we need to keep fast in front of us our dream of a better world. But most people know that Martin Luther King was a great civil rights activist and that he was assassinated in Memphis. But what they don't know about King or don't remember about King was that he was a great believer in the labor movement. He believed that the labor movement was a force for social justice. He believed that winning rights on racism and sexism didn't count if you didn't also win economic rights and gain good wages and benefits for all of those workers and for everybody in society. And Martin Luther King, he's famous for that I Have a Dream speech, but here's my favorite quote from Martin Luther King. The labor movement was the principal force that transformed misery and despair into hope and progress. And that has to be our dream and our vision. We have to continue to fight for good wages, for good benefits for every worker in the province, unionized and non-unionized, to fight for safe and healthy workplaces and to build that better world. And let's start that tomorrow. Today, let's celebrate and have fun. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to introduce someone that probably does not need much introduction. He is the president of the Canadian Labour Congress. I know he also appreciates a good glass of wine, a pint of beer, and some oysters. Please welcome to on the stage our very good friend, Ken Giorgetti!
Well, happy Labor Day, everybody. I want to say, on behalf of the 3,300,000 members of the Canadian Labour Congress, this day is for you. This day is to celebrate what Labour has done for this country. All Labour. But let me paint two pictures for you. One is a picture of a young worker starting in a unionized workplace. He gets a fair day's pay for a fair day's work. He gets benefits, dental and health care benefits. He gets a decent pension. He gets a safe workplace. And let me talk then about a non-union worker who works for wages that are substandard. Sometimes has to work 2 jobs in order to survive. No safety and health, very few benefits, and unlikely doesn't have a pension. Which job would you want your children or your friends and family to have? I think the answer is obvious. So we did some studying in the Canadian Labour Congress. We looked at this, what we call the union advantage. And you know what we discovered? In British Columbia, unionized workers make on average $5.12 more than do non-union workers. Our women members make almost $7 an hour more than do non-union workers. Just in British Columbia alone, that amounts to the difference between what non-union workers earn and unionized workers earn, $100 million a week. Isn't that great? But guess who gets the benefit of that $100 million the day after we get it in our paychecks? The community, the services and the businesses where we live. Because we don't run off to Florida to buy condos or throw our money in tax shelters somewhere on the Atlantic coast. No, we spend them right here where we live. We make the community better. We pay taxes and make our streets better and safer. We make our housing more affordable. Across this country today, every week in Canada, the union advantage is $785 million. Think about that. Almost $52 billion a year more gets spent into the Canadian economy because of the work of collective bargaining and the success we have at the bargaining table. That's why today, the Canadian Labour Congress is launching our campaign called Together Fairness Works. We want to overlay some of the facts around that haze of rhetoric that gets spread around this country that somehow unions are bad for the economy. You tell that to the cash registers of every Canadian business in this country. We've got to start putting some facts on the table about what we are and what we do. The things that people today take for granted. Heck, I love that button that says the unions are the people that brought you the weekend. But we also brought you the Canada Pension Plan and safer workplaces and the 40-hour week and the right to vacations and a decent pension when you retire. Those things haven't just benefited us, they've benefited everyone. And it's time for us to start to talk about that, about what my union and my union movement has not only done for me, but has done for everyone else. I want you to leave you with one thought, and I want you to ask someone that you know that isn't in a union, and ask them if they want. Would they rather have their children earn $600,000 more in their lifetime? I think they'd say yes. They don't have to buy a lottery ticket to do that. They don't have to go to a casino to do that. They just have to get their kids to sign a union card. That union advantage is good, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of Labor Day, and I'm proud of you for being part of Labor Day. Thank you very much.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Colleen Jones, who is on the executive of the New Westminster and District Labour Council, to say a few words. Colleen Jones.
Can't do this without a prepared speech. Good afternoon, sisters and brothers. What a great day to celebrate working people. As we come together today, I'd like to remember that Labour has a rich history of working to improve the lives of people living in the Lower Mainland, BC, and Canada as a whole. From its earliest days, the Vancouver Labour Council made its voice heard, and in 1897, it lobbied for free libraries, evening and technical schools, and called for the establishment of public parks. Vancouver's early Labour leaders led the movement to open English Bay for public use. Initially, private property owners had controlled the beach around English Bay. But unlike wealthier members of society who could afford expensive homes with broad lawns or memberships in private clubs, early Vancouver working people depended on public spaces as working people do today. So, starting in 1891, Labour leaders urged that English Bay be improved and maintained as a public facility. Private property owners should not be allowed to monopolize the shore, Labour spokesman people stated. The people, not private interests, should own such public rights. We all benefit from the early fights of Labour. We use libraries, we go to the beach, and we use public parks. Today we're celebrating in a public park. We need to continue that work so that new generations will benefit from the work of the Labour movement just as we benefit today. I want to ask you, in joining me, to thank the Teamsters members who have been locked out at IKEA for over 100 days, and the CUPE members at the North Shore Winter Club who have also been locked out for over 100 days for their courage and determination. These workers are standing up for fairness and dignity, and they should have our support every day, but especially on Labor Day. It's a beautiful day in Vancouver, sort of, but workers all over the world are not feeling that beauty. I'm excited by the recent strikes of fast food workers all over the US, but here in Canada, Harper and his friends continue to attack working people and their unions. The results of the provincial election last May were depressing for workers, but we have two important electoral opportunities in the next 20 months. In November 2014, we have municipal elections all over the province. We need to work to get progressive candidates elected to all positions in local government. City councils have such an effect on our daily lives, yet municipal elections have the lowest voter turnout of all elections. We need to change that. City councils can do such great things. Just look at the living wage policy adopted in the City of New Westminster. That single policy has such a huge impact on working people's lives. It's made their lives and their lives of their families so much better. We need to continue to pressure local governments to pass the same policies so that we can enrich the lives of all working people. Please consider running for a position on your city council or volunteering on a candidate's campaign. Great volunteers make such a difference to campaigns. Let's make our communities better for everyone. The labor movement has been under siege in recent years with a decline in manufacturing, back-to-work legislation, and other efforts to undermine unions. It can be so disheartening, but we can turn it around. We have great allies, and we need to work with them to make real change. So in May 2015, we need to get rid of Stephen Harper and his cronies. We know that unions are important to strong and sustainable communities. Researchers at the Canadian Labour Congress have found that an average unionized worker in the Greater Vancouver area earns $4.37 an hour more than non-union workers. That extra money in the pockets of the Vancouver area's 309,400 unionized workers translates into an added $48 million every week paid into the local economy. Unions make our communities strong. Unionized workers spend their paychecks close to home. We need to continue to work to keep our unions strong and vibrant. We understand and support the basic values that unions stand for, which really just comes down to fairness and equality. It's passionate people like all of you who will give the labor movement hope for the future. Thank you and happy Labor Day!
I'm sitting on the corner just wasting my time. I got your number all in my jeans. Well, the last time I saw you sitting a bottle of wine in the back of a black limousine. Well, you know my evil is down in my love, and I'll be there when you hit the bottom, but it's lonely at the time.